No matter where life has taken you, Puerto Rico is always a part of you. This is a space for stories we carry, the journeys we've taken, and the roots that continue to call us back home. From the diaspora to the island, we're bridging the gap through real conversations, shared experiences, and powerful voices. Because coming back isn't just about a place, it's about reconnecting with who you truly are. This is more than just a podcast, this is reconnection. This is Los Que Hacen. Hola, mi gente, it's your girl Tanya, and I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, to be quite honest, this is 100% out of my comfort zone. Like, I am not a person that is big, talking on camera, posting myself like that. Like, no, I like to be kind of be behind the scenes. But a lot of people kept asking me, hey, when is this podcast dropping? Now, a lot of people may not know me, some do, but my name is Tanya and I currently live in Puerto Rico. I am a bi-coastal Puerto Rican from the diaspora. Well, my mom is Puerto Rican from New York and my dad is Cubano. But I was raised very, very Boricua. In my younger years in California, and then as I got older, I did relocate to New York for about 14 years, and then eventually found my way on the island, which now brings me here doing this podcast right now. So that's just a little bit about me. Of course, I'll dive deeper into that, but I just want to introduce, the podcast known as Los Que Hacen. And Los Que Hacen for me obviously represents the people that are really making, things happen in our community on and off the island, but just within the Boricua community. Of course, I want to have so many different discussions about the different things that we face, just being Boricua, some of us in the diaspora, and then even with the ones that are here, born and raised on the island, our situation that sometimes we clash because we feel unaccepted as Puerto Ricans. So I really do hope that this podcast brings you guys, some type of, education, of safe space to like share your stories and this, um, as I kind of like venture off into this and I get comfortable, hopefully things would fall into place. But for me, I just want this to be a real, genuine conversation, like you're speaking to your family members. Like, I want this community to feel like, what, we are building and working together towards one goal, and that is making Puerto Rico a better place for all Boricuas, right? All of us, right? Our brothers and sisters on and off the island. Like, we should never have this, us versus them mentality. And I really, don't get me wrong, like me being here for the past 9 years, I personally don't experience that too much, but I've also made sure that I've built my own relationships with as many, locals as I can, but still growing it, right? Because I can tell you right now that I can go into certain areas where I repeat my visits and the people treat me with so much love and respect. And I think that that's, what it comes down to. As long as they see that you're assisting them, that you're helping them, that you're supporting their small businesses, we will be welcomed with love and care. So please, guys, bear with me as I get used to this new space for myself. But I want this to feel like we're hanging out in la sala, bochinchando, but not about people, not about negativeness, literally all about positivity and growing our community as investors, as business owners, as growing business owners, and as we slowly start to relocate back onto the island, we have a whole blueprint. So I'll dive back into that very quickly. So a little bit more about myself. As I stated, I was born in New York in 1983. Yes, I'm 43 years old. And I did relocate oh, to California as a small child. Didn't, not by choice, right? Because I was a baby, had no idea what was going on. And but because my Tita Elisa, who was born and raised in Santurce, had relocated to California is the main reason why we ended up over there. The great thing about that is that although we were raised, or although we lived on the West Coast, my family, my mom and my dad, and even my older brother, they had pretty much lived in New York most of their life. And here I am being, exported from New York City or from the Bronx over to California, which I had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. But thank you that I had this beautiful aunt that was from San Dulce that was literally like a second mom to me. Now, if you see me get a little bit emotional, it's because she's no longer here. And I'll explain that a little bit more later as well. But she played such a huge part of my life when it came to like me being or having this passion of being Boricua, right? Like she made me so proud uh, to represent, and it was all because of how strong she brought that culture into her home. So she ended up being my babysitter from, the time that we pretty much relocated. My mom and my father worked at jobs, so I would get dropped off, and Titi was the one who took care of me. I mean, she fed me. She took me to my first day of kindergarten. She also potty trained me. And, I stood with her for so I was about fifth grade, in the fifth grade. And then, my mom really no longer needed a babysitter. And then when we relocated, that's when things got really difficult because I no longer had this woman that played such a large inspiration in me being proud of being Boricua, right? Her cooking was amazing. Our holidays were amazing. They were always in her house. All the Puerto Ricans that were happened to be my family, whether it was through marriage or whether it was my mom's family or my aunt's husband's family, it's like the traditions in this household stood the same. So the beni, the argondule, the pastele assembly line, it didn't matter that we were on the West Coast, and whenever we left our homes, there was no more Puerto Ricans. Like we were literally like one of the very few. But the family, the traditions, the culture, and the norms were so strong within the household that we knew who we were. And I think because there wasn't so many other Puerto Ricans like us was the reason why we represented so hard, because we were like, listen, guys, we are not like you. All right. Like, I'm sorry, different Latinos and all that, but we stand out. We're different. We have a different culture. We have different food. So we definitely stood out everywhere we go, even in school, right? Like there wasn't any other Puerto Ricans in the schools that we went to in elementary school and junior high school. Crazy thing is that because of Facebook, I am still friends with a lot of people that I went to elementary school with, and some of them have actually reached out to me because because they know that I have a travel business in PR, and then they come to Puerto Rico, and it's like I haven't seen people in like over 20 years. So that's been like, a cool thing about me living here is that, I've kind of inspired people through my videos, through my pictures, and just through my life that Puerto Rico is such a beautiful place. And it's been really cool to have those like little unique reunions. But, so when after I finally decided, like after high school and after my mom relocated to Phoenix, Arizona, which I knew I wasn't going to be in that city very long because, yeah, once again, I was even more out of place, in a place like Phoenix, Arizona. So we only lived out there for about 6 years. And the crazy thing is that I didn't get to visit New York and back again until I was about 16. I think mommy and I went when I was about 4 years old. Once again, don't really remember that trip too much. And, but I definitely made sure I went back when after I was 16, and I kept going back, and every summer and I was like, no, I have to live out here. Like, I have to experience what a life is like in Puerto Rico. I mean, excuse me, in New York. So at that time I had never been to Puerto Rico. Yes, one of the most proudest Boricuas that you can know. Like I literally would have necklaces, bandanas, and all kinds of things that were that represented Puerto Rico. So I definitely had to go back and, go back to New York and tell myself, like, hey, you know what? I feel like I belong a little bit more here than I do, in Arizona, just in the West Coast, period. Like something with me just wasn't settling and saying that this is where I belong. So when I decided to relocate um, to New York, I was at 20, going on 21, because I was like, listen, if I'm gonna live in New York, I want to make sure that I'm at least of age to go out to the amazing parties that are out there, because I never experienced nightlife like I did in New York City. And thank God, to my homegirl Jillian, she definitely showed me what VIP life was like, out there. So living out there for 14 years, the struggle was real. I had my daughter when I was about 23 and a half, and lived in the Bronx, kind of like bounced around from space to space. Eventually, me, my mom, and my daughter's father had got a place in 181st and Crotona Avenue, and that's kind of where I settled for the last 10 years of my life before I relocated to Puerto Rico. So crazy thing is that I actually never visited Puerto Rico until I was about 25 years old, which is pretty crazy. I would hear all these stories of people, like, going back and forth, but for some reason my family just did not travel. I mean, and then once my mom became like a single mother, I, when I was like only 10 years old, we definitely didn't travel because my mom just didn't have the money to, survive like that. I mean, or travel like that. She just had enough money just to survive and take care of her and I. So, but I made sure as I got older that I got to visit Puerto Rico. So when I got here at the age of 25, it was just like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Now I understand why. I think that was the year of 2000 and what year was that? That had to be because my daughter was, 2008. My daughter was 2 years old. Now I remember. So that was in 2008, and forget about it. Like then I started coming back with my family every year, and we would spend like 10 or 11 days here. And at that point, I was like, yes, at some point, I absolutely have to live on this beautiful island. So shout out to my boy Juan Carillo, who happened to be a guy that was a bellhop in one of the hotels that I used to visit and stay at. And we became great friends. He always, made sure that I got the real Puerto Rico experience. And then when I had, mentioned to him that, I would love to live in Puerto Rico one day, I just don't know what I would do. Like, what the hell would I do? He was like, well, I work in the hotels. I have a pretty great position. So I would definitely make sure that I get you into the hotel industry some way, somehow. So that kind of stuck in my mind. And I was like, well, since you had this opportunity, at least start getting yourself some credentials, right? Like start going to school and studying and seeing if you can get, a degree. So that's what I did. Like I went back to New York. I went to LaGuardia High School. I think high school. I didn't go to LaGuardia High School. I went to LaGuardia Community College and I got my associate's degree in travel and tourism. So crazy thing is that thank you God for um my hospitality marketing professor, Damien Duchamp, one of the best professors I ever had, truly inspired me when it came to starting my business, Real PR Travel, because he really supported and guided me from the very beginning. He was an amazing professor when it came to like teaching our class how to market and promote your business, and he really believed in us. This man literally included me in like his book that he wrote about hospitality. He put me on a platform during the COVID area where there was like a lot of virtual like conferences going on. So I got to speak to about 200 high school kids about my business. And then I had another professor of mine. She was actually a professor I had in like three or four of my classes when it came to the hospitality, the program in those like the core studies of hospitality. She actually, spoke about me about her teaching when she was teaching in Italy. So it was just amazing to see that I made an impact on my professors. So it's just It kind of goes back to when I was in third grade that my professor, like my teacher in third grade, like told my mom, like, this girl has something special about her. And then it kind of just followed me like throughout the years. So it was just a great feeling to see that I was the the student that that my teacher spoke about, only because I was the one that actually went fresh out of associates, my studies, and went straight into entrepreneurism. And I was legit about 8 months pregnant when I finished my courses. So, but right after that, I moved to Puerto Rico. So I moved to Puerto Rico with a 3 week old baby because for about 11 months, I planned my travel business. I planned my travel business because I got stuck in Puerto Rico for about 2 extra days, and I hopped in a vehicle. I explored the island, and I end up in the town of Patillas, which is a small town on the southeast of the island that a lot of people do not really visit. And it's such a beautiful part of the island because you have the montes, you have the ocean, the beaches, and because my professor gave us final project that included us creating a tour in New York and not using the popular destinations, that topic just kind of came to my mind when I was visiting the town of Patillas and I was doing this exploring. So literally, I was like, oh my goodness, I can create a business the way that that professor had mentioned, but in New York, but instead of New York, do it in Puerto Rico, about, you know, allowing tourists explore the island, but with me. Meaning that I will take you across the island so you can explore it like a local, eat like a local, eat on the side of the road, see beautiful waterfalls and places, and just see the places that most tourists do not explore, but at the same token, we're supporting the small local businesses on the island. And that really is what allowed me to stay here, grow here. But I did come with a plan. And I think as I start to inspire other Puerto Ricans to come to Puerto Rico, I really do try to make sure that I help them come with a plan. Listen, what are your talents? What are your business experiences? Like what are the way things that you can invest in that will create this long-term passive income for yourself? Listen, I am newly educated on this. And I mean newly, and I'll say maybe the past 2 to 3 years. But the reason why I'm sharing what I know now is because there's a lot of people that may have the credentials. They may have great credit. They may have good business, a good business running, but they may not have the knowledge of how to make that move happen. And I feel like that's what I kind of want to focus on. I want to focus on how we can make that move happen, and not just make that move happen for yourself, but how in that process, how can we make that move a positive transition, right? So with that being said, that is how Boricuas by PR came about. Because I'm like, if I have the knowledge of how we can move to Puerto Rico and possible idea, brainstorming, and organization, then of course I would love to inspire as many Puerto Ricans as possible, ones that have were from the island and had to leave the islands, and the ones that were off the born and off the island that would just want to have a part of their life living on the island. Trust me, I get it. I understand because I felt the same way. Hence why I made that leap of faith. And I moved here 6 months before Hurricane Maria, which is how the Body Love Project was started, because I wanted to help. Because, since I was welcomed here with open arms, at the end of the day, my home was fine, my family was safe. So if I am capable of helping out through clothing drives and through donations and through raising capital so that we can donate it to the people that needed the help, I was doing that. I've been boots on the ground, right? So with that being said, Boricuas by PR came about because I said, hey, I know a lot of Puerto Ricans off the island that have capital, that have investments, I've built an amazing network. on and off the island. So if I can bridge that gap and I can connect the two, I know a bunch of real estate agents. I'm building relationships with the real estate lawyers, lenders. Forget about the lenders are coming to me. Like, hey, if you got people that need funding, let me know because I will support you. I will help you. And that's what I love about what this platform has done, guys. Like, this platform has helped me build a community of people that want to help. There's too many people that will talk about making money. Don't you guys understand that we're gonna make money no matter what? But at least we're gonna make money creating resources and creating opportunities for other Boricuas, opening doors for other Boricuas. Because when I tell you guys, the next move after Boricuas buying PR and the way that we structured that business so that it funds our nonprofit, the Body Love Project, where now we are educating the youth, the Puerto Rican youth, taking our skills and our knowledge into their environments. And we're talking about in these after school programs that are for low income housing, low income family students. We're talking about uh, these programs that are for kids that are in group homes that have been taken away from whatever environment that was unsafe for them. Like, the whole blueprint that we have created to try and build this up is phenomenal. Yes, will there be money made in the process? Absolutely, because everybody is going to need to produce. But are we out here mooking the system? No. Why? Because Boricua buying PR is this. One, bring the Puerto Ricans that want to purchase. Now, do they have to leave where they're at? No. Some Boricuas don't even want to leave the state. Some of them want to stay, but they still want to buy. And they want to buy so that they can rent and rent long term and rent long term to Section 8 holders and non Section 8 holders, but at affordable rates. People that work in the bank, that work in Walmart, that work in they also deserve to live in a decent household. So, yes, money will be made slowly. We don't want to milk the cow. We don't even support the Airbnb market. If you want to do Airbnb, you're going to have to find a different group. And I can tell you right now, those groups are charging a large amount of money. We'll just say that. They're charging a large amount of money to do what I'm doing for the people that actually, for the Boricuas that actually want to purchase so that we can provide long-term rentals. Why? Because we have a deficit of 55,000 homes in Puerto Rico. People, that means for every 100 homes, every 100 families that are looking for a house and a home to live, we only have 55 homes. That is crazy. That is unbelievable. So that's why we're here to build that up. And while we're building that up, we're going to build up the next community, right? The next generation. And while we build that up, we're going to remember our viejitos. And now we're going to offer these services, right? We're going to create businesses that offer these in-house services, our boricuas, laundry service, beauty services, uh, um, cooking services, or even just one-on-one hanging out. Maybe the viejita just wants you to watch novelas with her, have conversation, tell you their stories. We literally just have to build these businesses because at the end of the day, these are businesses and services that are helping, and they don't have to be super expensive. They're just going to help us provide the services, right? Because we can always have students provide these services. So, with that being said, our last thing is that we would like to create some type of transportation service that does connect people from San Juan to the outer, so in the other parts of the island, kind of like a little, mini Greyhound service. And that's, in the develops, but that's to come. So I just wanted to create this first video today, um, just to introduce myself and introduce my vision, introduce my my blueprint and why I want to keep building community. And listen, guys, I already know we're gonna have some naysayers, we're gonna have some negative people, we're gonna have some people that are gonna come on here. bash us, bash our idea, even talk about past mistakes that I've made. And to be quite honest, I pray that this platform and that these opportunities allow me to rectify the mistakes that I've made with businesses that I've worked with in the past and people that I've worked with in the past, because I am human, I am a growing person, and I'm not perfect, guys. Like, oh my goodness, like I have had my moments of where I have not always done the right thing. I have not always been the perfect mom. Like, I'm going through a situation with my daughter right now. So just know that this is going to be a very vulnerable space, a very open space, a very genuine space. And trust me, people better be scared and nervous, because I heard, or last year, when I mentioned that I was going to drop my podcast, which, I always say I'm going to do something, I always do it later on. But people said that my podcast would have been a conflict of interest because because they already had a podcast, a very beginner podcast on like that. But this is the person actually I did an event with in New York. Okay, so we actually partnered on an event together. But I can't do my own podcast because now it's a conflict of interest and I can't even be a guest on yours. Yeah, those are the type of people I do not want to associate with. So when that red flag came to me, while you're talking community, baby, I'm building it, because now I want other Puerto Rican podcasters, whatever you're podcasting about, as long as it's positive. If it's financial, if it's about real estate, if it's about cooking, if it's about culture, I want us to host a Puerto Rican network, sorry, the Puerto Rican Podcast Network channel. All right. So I want us to join. So all my up and coming podcasters, you don't have to have a large following. You don't have to have anything. You just need to have belief in yourself and have positive content to put out. Let's join forces and let's show them what community and building together looks like, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. I wasn't gonna publish this, but I think I did such a great job that I am gonna edit it and publish it. So this will be and just okay. So real quickly, so just a cap. Coming up, we will be hosting other, having co-hosts and guests on our podcast, introducing, highlighting the Boricuas that are making things happen on and off the island. I cannot wait. And just so you guys know, I have some other things that I'm working on that I'm cooking up in the background. Just know your girl is working. So please, if you guys want to join me, comment, share. You already know what to do. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Boricuas Buying Back PR, baby. Estamos ready. Ciao, guys.